And Judicial Watch has found through our own analysis that there are too many states where they've got more people, where they have more people on the rolls, the voting rolls, than are eligible to vote. Now, federal law requires that states take reasonable actions to clean up their voting rolls. Doesn't mean they have to be 100% perfect, but it does mean that they do something. Now, we've already sued in Maryland for records about their efforts to clean up voting rolls. In Kentucky, which is probably one of the most egregious violators, we've sued recently as well. I've told you about that. Because the federal government doesn't evidently want to enforce the law. They didn't do it under President Obama, and this Justice Department has yet to do anything substantial on that yet. And California is a mess too. Evidently, they never remove you from the rolls. You could die, move away, you're always going to be there. They'll call you inactive, but you're still going to be on the rolls, and your name is subject potentially to being used by someone who's not you to vote. Dirty voting rolls can mean dirty elections. So how do you know if a state or your locality hasn't taken reasonable steps to clean up the voting rolls? Well, a pretty good indication are the numbers. And in California, as I said, you've got more people on the rolls than are eligible to vote. I think statewide it's 101% of the population's on the voting rolls. But when you go drill down into the counties, and specifically, we just sued this week California and Los Angeles over their failures to take reasonable steps to clean up the rolls. And Los Angeles, the numbers are terrible. Let me get the numbers here for you. They have 112% of the adult citizen population on the rolls in Los Angeles. 112%. And that's just a recipe for fraud. And it also shows that they're not doing what they need to do as required by law. So we filed this big lawsuit this week, and we'll see what happens. We hope that we are able to persuade California to do the right thing. I hope they don't take a political partisan approach to this rule of law effort. I suspect the way California is, they will. But we want the laws enforced, and I think California citizens and citizens of every state should have a reasonable expectation that their elections be fair and honestly run. And they cannot be assured that's the case if there are more people on the rolls than are eligible to vote. And again, the Justice Department isn't doing this. We had filed the first lawsuits like this against Indiana and Ohio. And the suits were, I think, settled or ended more or less after both states did the right thing to try to clean up the rolls. And in fact, the left is challenging key elements of our settlement in Ohio, I think, before the Supreme Court. Or it's Indiana, but one of the two states. I can't remember everything at all times, so forgive me. But the left is heavily invested in making sure that voter integrity measures go nowhere. So we expect the left to battle us here in California and in Kentucky and everywhere else we go. And the left has doubled down on this idea that we can't have voter ID, citizenship verification, states can't take reasonable steps to make sure dead people are on the rolls. And you got to wonder why it is they're so desperate to protect the ability to vote illegally. And I think it's because the left wants to be able to steal elections if necessary. I don't know how you can conclude otherwise.